So hello, everybody. Hello, all you lovers. We are recording this meeting, so if you don't want to be seen, please turn your camera off, perhaps change your name. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. We are going to put it out on the members group so they can see how we dealt with things in this meeting. So if we can just have a few minutes to bring ourselves into this space on this beautiful day. And it's absolutely lovely, isn't it? This just slightly post-solstice energy. I hope you all enjoyed that yesterday. So today I'm just going to read a karmic cleansing prayer. This is from Dr. Hulen, and I believe that came from his teacher, to just try and help us to let go of the things that we are perhaps worrying about. We can use this for anything. You can put your own worries, thoughts, feelings into the spaces. I'm going to use my own here. So we're supposed to repeat it 4 times as well. Spirit, superconscious, please locate the origin of any resentments or thoughts of others trying to control our lives. Take each and every layer and aspect of our being to this origin. Analyze and resolve it perfectly with God's truth. Come through all generations of time and eternity, healing every incident and its appendages based on the origin. Please do it according to God's will until we are at present filled with light and truth, God's peace and love, forgiveness of ourselves for our incorrect perceptions, forgiveness of every person, place, circumstance, and events that contributed to these feelings and thoughts. And I'll leave you to repeat those 4 times. So all we're doing really is asking the divine to take whatever we're worried about and we can't comprehend, and what we're feeling, and just put it right for us. We don't know what's gone on. We don't know where it's all come from. Divine, sort it out. And now we ask the divine to bring in clarity, clear vision, clear communication, divine guidance to guide us to a vision and a path for the future, and bring this into the energy of the group in all forms, all levels, and at all points in time. Thank you. So if we can just hopefully come down into that space. We have some decisions to make today. Isn't that exciting? So thank you all for coming. Julie can't be with us, unfortunately, which is a shame, but she has made her feelings clear and known, which is brilliant. And I will really relay them to you if there's if people need to hear them, but and a quick summary. So basically, the Electoral Commission rejected our application for registering with them. And what was quite surprising here was I felt absolutely nothing whatsoever. I felt no despair, no annoyance, irritation. I was just like, so what? Because for me at that moment, which is a bit odd because it had blocked me for a little while that we hadn't received any notice, and it just seemed irrelevant. Now, maybe that's because we'd been through the elections and had no trouble as candidates, as independent candidates. I hadn't noticed any disadvantage. But that was my immediate impression. I was just like, how interesting that this has not triggered me in any way, has not led to feelings of, oh, this is terrible. What on earth are we going to do? And we'll have to go through it again. So that was where I got to immediately on that. So my view is that things have moved on, that the government has, and the old paradigm generally, the 3D paradigm, is just increasingly irrelevant to me, to everyone, and to what we want to achieve actually in the future. I'm not saying that we shouldn't stand in our truth and state where there is a problem that they need to break, that they need to sort out, and that we shouldn't stand for elections. I absolutely think we should. We should sort of be out there, being the light, being the beacon. I just think it's my own feeling is it's just becoming less and less relevant to actually be in the establishment. So we've also, like I said, since then stood for our own elections stood for elections ourselves as independents, and haven't found any particular disadvantage. The big disadvantage, and I know Rachel likes the marketing of having the logo on the ballot paper. having stood for the elections myself, I didn't think I missed it. I didn't think that was something that was a problem. I think that just means that we need to up our game beforehand so that people know the names of going on. And I actually think being independent in these times, or not linked to an establishment party, a registered party, could be an advantage, could actually boost our credibility. Now, and also it, from my point of view, it makes the flat leadership structure a lot easier to have, because we don't have to fulfill requirements for a leader and a treasurer and that, which were never our intentions, which we never really wanted. The three of us, we had three of us on purpose, so that there wasn't one, ego ruling everything, if you like there is in most parties, and it's easy to become that. So that was where I got to, and I would really welcome all your comments on this, because this is quite a biggie. So the big question is, do we carry on trying to get electoral registration? Or are we actually better off without? How do we feel the universe has guided us on this? Is it guiding us to tighten up our constitution and get it passed? We thought that the points raised were extremely picky and a little contradictory. Actually, we thought this was basically some deliberate attempt to stop us being registered. Or do we take that as the universe saying, do your own thing, go your own way? So I know what I think. Julie tends to put it rather more eloquently and say, stuff them. But I'd love to hear what everyone else wants. So Prakesh, you've got your hand up. If you can use your hand, the raise hand thing is brilliant, because it puts you on my screen to the top of the screen, and then I can see that you want to say something. So the raise hand icon, which is in reactions, if anybody doesn't know where it is, in reactions, if you click on that at the top, it says raised hand, and it's brilliant. So Prakesh.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you've said, and as each day passes, it seems to me that the existing institutions and the existing paradigm become more and more irrelevant, because they are in a state of demise, it seems to me. And I mean, whilst I'm, I will still do petitions, and I will still write to my local MP, Harriet Harman, and she'll come back to me and write safe and effective on each letter, and we'll go on like that for 2 years. It's frustrating. I feel I'm not getting anywhere, and the question is, where does one want to put one's energy? Does one want to put energy into resisting what is at the moment, or just accepting what is and recognizing that it has its own timeline, it has its own time frame, and is increasingly irrelevant? And therefore, what is important is what is new and what one can bring that might be new. So in summary, I think where that leads me to is that if they are rejecting the establishment of the Love Party and recognizing it, the thought that came into my mind, and I'm just testing it out, I don't have a fixed view on this, but I just wanted to know other views on this, is that rather than a love party, a love movement, which allows people to stand as independents, and perhaps using, I don't know if it's possible to still use the logo, but the problem with it, in the way the system is set up, it's set up so that political parties can navigate the system. It's not really set up for independence. And so perhaps some sort of hybrid where there is a kind of love movement which has the backing of other people who can support individuals wanting to stand for election, but then not being part of a party, but being part of a movement. And so, for example, you were talking, I think at the last meeting, that if people do stand as candidates, that they would have the opportunity to produce a leaflet, and maybe there might be some local initiatives to secure funding for that, but they pay for the envelopes. Wouldn't it be great if one had an infrastructure sitting behind that supported in the development of those leaflets, for example, just on the practical side? So I'm thinking a love movement which supports individuals to stand as independents.
Thank you. Yeah, let me just come back on the whole setup for parties. That's slightly matrix thinking, because when we tried it, we actually found it was quite simple. I went off to the council officers, handed in my form. They corrected all the mistakes, of which there were many, pretty much on every page. They corrected them for me, and they did everything, all the things I couldn't find out, the voter numbers of the people who had put me forward for what do they call it? Endorsed me, all those sort of things. Everything you needed, they had. And it was very, very simple. And we didn't have to go through the whole silly thing of having a electoral officer who was having to monitor what we did. So, but yes, I think a party behind that, so having independents who have the support of a structure, a movement. I'm happy not to call it a party. Maybe we should, we don't know, do we call it a party and have a real party, a proper party where it's fun, and just completely change the meaning of the word political party, or do we call it something else? So that's great, but I really don't think we have the excuse of it's easier as a party, because it isn't really. I don't believe that's true anymore. Having stood, it's better to have the logo on the paper. Well, I'm even going to interrupt myself there, because the idea was that it was nice to have the logo on the paper, but there is so much cynicism about the party structure that maybe that's not even an advantage either. Anyway, thanks, Prakash. That's great to have those thoughts. Rachel.
Thanks, Lynn. And yeah, Prakash, I really agree. And I've really been sort of sitting with this since we discussed it a week or two ago within the Beacons, and really feeling how, yeah, that absolutely is the solution, that to create a movement and to absolutely go for the lost electorate, the 50 or 60, 70% of people who just aren't bothering with politics because they've lost faith and heart and hope in it. It was so interesting. I posted this morning the interview with Dr. Shiva. Now, I get that he's quite yang, masculine, and quite controversial, but it was quite interesting when what he was saying towards the end about, because he's a systems analyst and a developer by profession, and he was talking about the kind of the systems of how to create a movement. So it's well worth watching that video. If anyone didn't watch it towards the end, he talks about the kind of how to create a movement, a revolutionary movement. So it's interesting timing that came through today, literally sort of a few hours before this meeting was due to start. So it's interesting because when Marconi invented the radio, there were lots of different people working on the same technology at the same time. So it's interesting because his movement is the Truth, Freedom, Health movement. And so it's interesting when you get the same impulse happening on different continents and different places all around the world. It's like we're tapping into the zeitgeist of the times. So I just wanted to say how much I feel that this is absolutely the right route. And on a personal level, I am actually changing my name officially, legally. It's already lawfully, to Rachel Elmore Love. So I think that is a very good signal for those that are up for doing that, to actually add love to your name. That's the easiest way to get love on the ballot paper, but to do it legally, because as you know, I did have a little call from the police about my election materials, but you know, I haven't had any comeback on that. I just said it's my common law right to call myself whatever I like. So, but I am actually going to do it officially, like on my passport and bank account, so that next election in 2024, there can be no comeback on that small little detail. So yeah, that's my little two penneth. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Is that video, did you say you posted that video in the Telegram? Because I haven't.
I posted it on Vote Love. I changed the name of Love Be Love to Vote Love. Yeah. Sorry about changing it without authority. I've changed it back.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay. I didn't mind.
I changed it back to Vote Love because it was, you know, those leaflets that I created, I think they were super powerful. the vote Rachel Elnor Love, they really, really worked. I only did them a week before the elections, but so many people said they were amazing, the same on both sides. And they're easy to post through letterboxes. They're quite thick and with a letter inside. So I just think that format really is a very good format for us to use.
It is quite good. Me and Julie used also, sorry, Julie and I, as my auntie would say, also used a similar format, but in A5, bit more conventional. Maybe it would be better to,
because also it suited well for posters to put on lampposts, even though I got told off for that. That, you know, to strap them to lampposts and railings and boards by this. It's just got a really good shape from a marketing point of view, just to do vertical fold A4. Just to be different and to stand out.
I think that, yeah, absolutely. And it, you know, it, like you say, it lands on the map both ways, and both ways work. So yeah, all good. Thank you for that. So Roger. Sorry, Roger, you need to unmute. Can you just press the unmute, Roger? I don't think I can do it for you because it's not my.
Is that okay now?
That's it. Got you.
Yeah, I haven't a lot to say, but I just wanted to endorse what Prakash said. Everything he said, I concur with. And I do think it is better to distance ourselves from the current paradigm of politics, which uses the word party. So I'd rather, you know, we went with movement. Then we're distancing ourselves, because we've got to abandon this lot. It's all corrupt. We've got to get it as far away from it as possible.
I think we all agree with that, actually. But I mean, I personally don't see much efforting involved here. I think they're bringing themselves down. They're just dissolving and going away. They certainly feel irrelevant to me. So yeah, let's hope that continues. And we just basically need to. So the important thing for me is rebuilding. Well, not even rebuilding, remembering, and getting systems in place for us that are genuinely working for us. You know, if there's a community, if we're having communities and society, that it works for the individual. So rather than individuals working for society, which is completely the wrong way around. You know? The society is there to enhance the chances of the individual, to help them to thrive and live their best life. Otherwise, there's no point in society if it's bringing the individuals down. No point, you know. So that's my view. Not that we don't all work together. It's always wonderful to when you can actually do something that that gives you a feeling of having been useful. It's always nice to do that. I'm not saying we shouldn't do our bit, because that's good for us as well as everyone else. But if society is not working for us, there's no way we should be sacrificing people or any individual for society, because that just completely wrecks the whole point of society, from my point of view. Anyway, can I go to Carrie now?
Well, I just wanted to say one more thing. I've put a link on the chat, and it's an interview between Laura Nina and Chris Coverdale. And the reason I've put it on is not so much to follow his recommendations, but to note what laws, which he states the government has been breaking for years and years and years. And I just think that we ought to highlight this to the public, because the main thing about it is all people paying tax of any kind, including the council tax, are aiding and abetting terrorism. And you've got to look at the video, really.
Yeah, we will look, Roger. I think you're absolutely right on this, that I think we could have a lot of fun if we with legally challenging what's been going on, including things like dropping the gold standard, things like that. These are big frauds that have happened, and even the legislation, some of it very unlawful. And we could have a lot of fun with that. But at the moment, let's concentrate on rebuilding, remembering, and bringing our communities back to the light. Thank you, Roger. That's great. Carrie, can I have are you there? Carrie of Loveland, how's your festival? Can't hear you just at the moment. Okay, Carrie, I know you've, there's something wrong with your speaker.
She's unmuted.
She's unmuted, but she's not coming through, is she? Carrie, can you try again? Got your sound settings. Say something. No, not hearing you. No. Can you try coming out and going in? Yeah, try going out and coming back into the meeting. Use the same link. We'll let you back in and we'll put you straight to the top of the queue, if that's all right. I think you probably just need the whole switch it on and off thing that every techie seems to rely on. So I'm going to wait for Carrie to log herself back in. Jack, can you just have a quick interlude?
Yeah, I don't want to say a lot, but I'm pretty much pulled in two over this issue. I can see the advantage of being registered, incorporated as a political party, the clout and the financial advantages and having the logo and all that. I can see that. But I really do have a problem with the whole party system. If I can just read something that I wrote recently, it'll make it clear.
Yes, thank you.
Whichever party wins, the people always lose.
Mm-hmm.
Please, everyone, stop voting for political parties. Stop falling for their divide and rule agenda. Vote for local independent candidates and make it a condition of re-election that they attend regular town meetings where they take their instructions from the people they represent.
Spot on. I'm not entirely sure that there are financial advantages to being a registered political party. In my opinion, that tends to make it hard to get financial backing. You tend to just be relying on memberships as organizations that may give donations to other things like food banks or seed exchange or something like that, will not normally fund a registered political party. I've actually found that political parties tend to be quite poor unless they have a big backer like Reclaim does.
I thought this may only apply to general elections, I don't know, but I thought there was financial help with the cost of leafleting, or maybe just the postage.
Yeah, in the general, the candidates are allowed a leaflet to be delivered by Royal Mail. You have to pay for the leaflet. Yeah, the postage is worth having. That's true. I don't think we get that as independents, which ups the cost a bit. But I think it just means we have to be smarter.
We do get it, Lynn.
Do we still get it as independents?
Yeah.
Sorry, I hadn't looked at that. Thank you, Rachel.
99% certain. If you pay your £500 fee, you get a leaflet drop to every member of your constituency. In fact, the Liberal Democrat guy at the count reiterated that to me.
Okay, right. Well, that's that then. So there is no particular financial advantage to being a registered political party. Far from it, I would say, is that the stigma of being a party probably negates any financial advantage. But yeah, I mean, certainly people probably look at you a bit differently being a political party. Maybe that's a good thing. But I think that the thing is, nobody trusts political parties, do they? I mean, I'm sat here and we started a party that was going to register with the Electoral, that has looked at registering with the Electoral Commission, has tried it. And yet, even so, through all that process, I'm there going, I don't trust political parties because they promise stuff and do not deliver. I think the key for us is to start delivering, even at very small levels, even if it is just hosting the odd seed exchange, good food, cooperative project, just having the odd heart-led meetup at our house or in the pub, any little thing that gets people connected, because the disconnect is so great. Anything that we do is better than what the political parties are doing. We really have a very low bar to jump here. we really don't have to do an awful lot to get above what the political parties are actually doing for us, because they're working against us, of course. So yeah, all good. Anyway, Simon, I know, has some interesting stuff to say. I don't know whether he's going to say it now, but I hope so. Amongst
I
others.
was just on another point. I was listening whilst I was Googling. Party is a proper noun. If you look at all the political parties, the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, Lib Dem, whatever, it's always a capital P.
Yeah.
So you can use a small p to differentiate yourself, political movement, but then it just occurred to me it's the love train is what it is.
Love train. Yeah.
It resonates with people. People can get on board, and we're all going in the same direction.
Brilliant. Yeah, Simon has a vision for our direction. But Carrie's just rejoined us. If I can come back to that, Simon, because that was something that's on my agenda as a separate item.
Sure, no worries.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Oh, we're still not there. Are you unmuted, Carrie?
Yeah. Is that better?
Oh, she's here. Yes, brilliant.
Just a little switch on the microphone that
Oh.
is separate from the laptop. I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm not into all this, you see. I find it very
Oh, it's amazing how many ways we have of cutting
Yeah.
ourselves off on Zoom.
I agree with, what's happened is probably fortuitous, that you haven't been accepted, and it's kind of a new way forward. I was wondering if any of you have heard of the Community Assembly of the British Isles, run by John Gilbert.
I have heard of it. I haven't looked into it though. Have you got
Right.
some insider knowledge?
Yes, he was interviewed on Richard Vobes, and I went onto his website. He actually lives in Cornwall, but this is a worldwide organisation, and it's completely, I feel, in line with a lot of what we're doing, which is obviously to be peaceful, to present love, and so I didn't realise when I clicked on it that meant that I joined. But I don't think it's a sort of problem. I hope that I have joined, but it's a big growing organisation. And John Gilbert also said that a lot of other like-minded groups of people have kind of networked in and joined, so it's a kind of gathering momentum of like-minded organisations. And he said there are about 24 assemblies have been set up in New Zealand already. They set up assemblies in different areas, and they kind of have a duty then to just keep the peace, which sounds a bit odd, but
Not really.
I think I think that's a good thing. They even have people called peace officers.
Oh no, I have heard of these.
Yes.
Now that was from peacekeepers.org also has that, and it might be the same thing actually. They might have evolved into this community assembly.
Yes. I think it's
yeah,
kind of growing very rapidly.
Is Mark Horn involved in this?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
He was the one who was doing peacekeeping. I think it was him who was doing peacekeeping.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've got their own officers that are basic, not officers, their own constables who are, they won't call them officers, obviously. Their own constables who are patrolling, and they've sort of worked with the constabulary and got understandings, and I basically think that's probably the way to go. I mean,
well, they're not challenging the government. They're not trying to bring down
our own thing. Exactly.
I'm sure the government are doing a good job for that all by themselves, but they're kind of working with society, but they are still promoting, this is the way forward. This is how we want to live, and this is how we will live. come what may.
Let's look into that and see if that's a.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it because it might be useful. It may not.
No, it's all about joining these dots, isn't it? All about joining up the dots. Somebody has just taken their hand down, but do they want to speak now? No?
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Let's have Rachel then, while there's no one else with their hand up.
I think that was Simon, wasn't it? I don't know if Simon.
I'll go back to him in a minute. I've got Simon on my.
I only took it down because you knew it was up, so I thought.
Yeah, I've got you for the next.
No worries.
Okay. So just to say on that point, John Gilbert, I did actually speak to him. He phoned me, he contacted me, and before the local elections, and he said, don't stand as a local councillor, create a community assembly instead. So I had a little bit of a discussion with him about like going into the existing system and pattern interrupting it from the inside. But now, several months on, and realizing that actually it's probably better just to let the old system, collapse. I mean, I do believe that we should go in, but I think we're going in specifically to pattern interrupt. So I agree with what Carrie was saying, that if we can harness all of the heart-centered, consciously aware, awake groups in our local area and bring them together as part of this movement to support one candidate to stand and to go into Parliament, to stand for Parliament on the specific thing of actually reviewing the whole of politics. That is the kind of key manifesto, not even manifesto, on the values of liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment, but with just this single aim to completely review politics and recreate it for the modern era. To me, that would be a super powerful thing, and to harness all of these local groups, including the local community assemblies, or to form one.
Okay, so yes, I think pattern interrupting is our thing as far as standing candidates is concerned. I think that from my point of view, I'm increasingly seeing that as a side branch to what we're doing. But an important one. It's important to pattern interrupt. It's important to call people out, and if we need to, and give people options, give people the opportunity to vote for somebody who is not working against them. So that's important, but far more important, I think, for everybody is to get first themselves in order, then their communities working, functioning properly, and then the wider country. And just by doing that, we are doing so much more than they are doing already, even if we just sort ourselves out, because they clearly don't sort themselves out, do they?
But I'm just talking about a strategy of how we actually do this, because obviously the next general election we think might be summer 2024. So we've got 12 months, which is why it's kind of like, what is the technology, to use the Dr. Shiva thing, what is the technology by which we can create this movement and we can bring together all of the existing momentum, stand a candidate in every constituency that holds these values, that is a heart-centered person standing for the people, so that there's enough of a wave of independent candidates that can say, right, we're going to review the entire political system, everything, right from the location of Parliament to how it's run, all of the lawmaking, and how power can be devolved to the people.
Yeah, and my sort of pet one is no new laws without throwing another one out. We've got so much flipping legislation. You want to bring in a new law, get rid of 10 others.
Well, common law actually collapses everything ever written.
Yeah, so, you're right. You're right. Yeah. It won't even need to do that. It's just I used to get so fed up with them bringing in these new laws. I say, for goodness sake, if you're going to bring something in, get rid of some others, because they were all so ridiculous. But you're right. We don't need it. Common law just brings it down to do no harm, pretty much, doesn't it? And maybe we can just even extend that to respect all life, and just go that way. But this brings us neatly into Simon, who is on the other side of me at the moment. Simon, your scheme for your thoughts for achieving this.
Yeah, I think what's coming out of this conversation is that what are we all about? There's lots of really interesting things going on, and I think it's really important that we cooperate with all these different initiatives, because they've all got a similar goal. So I think what we need is a very clear focus, which is the political route. So how are we going to identify and fund these 650 independent candidates? I would think that would, if that was our clear message, that's what we're all about, that would garner attention. It would bind us. So I just suggested the other week that we make it our intention to raise £325,000, which is the 650 constituencies right across the UK times the £500 deposit. Make that our goal. I personally think I could raise £500 in Tewkesbury, no problem at all, to fund an independent candidate. And then we'd need to think very clearly about how we're going to identify these 650 people and what it is that's going to bind us. What is it we're going to say that we're hoping to achieve? And I said last week, no policies or manifesto, just principles and values. This is what we're looking for: 650 people to represent just decent, empathetic, compassionate human beings that are beyond being corrupted. And one way to achieve that is to make it quite clear that they'll only stand for one term before they're replaced by somebody else.
And local.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the whole point is I put something on the website, you know, not who do you know that you would like to be your MP? How does this person measure up against your local MP?
Nominate them.
Yeah, whether it be Harriet Harman or my MP, Lawrence Robinson, who just has got a very safe seat. He disappears to Tewkesbury racecourses for 4 years before he reappears again.
I'm not entirely sure about the one term. I do understand why you've put it in, but we have found that even just having elections every 5 years, which I'm not saying we should change necessarily, but one of the problems is short-termism. It's doing stuff enough to get yourself in the next time, or doing enough to make sure your party gets in the next time, and not really worrying about the long-term consequences, doing enough to make yourself popular, doing enough to get whatever benefit you can from it, but to ensure that you get offered a job in industry, to ensure you get a book deal, to ensure whatever. I think I think what I'd really like about yours is that we go for genuine, good, just good people, genuinely good people, and we have a very clear aim of getting 650 genuinely good people, one in each seat. Let's fill in the dots on the map. Let's get that done, and then and also have a good peopleometer, which are the for funding it. Which, like you say, I think we could definitely do that, probably more easily as a non-registered, unpolitical party. And we can definitely go down that route. The one-term thing, I'm not sure about that, because
I'm just keen to avoid another generation
I get it. I totally
professional
get
politicians. That's the only motivation. But other than that, it's just a German of an idea to build upon, hopefully. Yeah,
it's absolutely that. It's just that cautionary note about the short-termism, which has been a problem. We don't want people to just, I'm here now, all I've got to do is serve my term and then I can go, and then, you know, the next person can get the...
Well, that's where the principles and values, that they're there to engage, as Carrie is saying, with local assemblies, and to genuinely represent their constituency for 4 years. And it could be that you've got some sort of rolling system where, you know, half of the MP's salary, if you maintain that structure, would pay the next incumbent and the person going out. So you've got that rolling continuity of educating people what to expect before they get there. But I mean, hopefully 4 years, we'll just burn the whole place down within 4 years anyway. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. I just know that even with the system that we've got, the Tories say, for example, just a random example, Tories aren't bothered about messing things up because Labour will come in and they'll have to deal with it and get all the flack. And then Labour will just blame the Tories and not worry about what they're doing, because the next time the Tories will come in and they'll get all the flack. So nobody actually cares. They're just worried about their knighthood or their, like I say, their job in a good position in a good company, their standing in the WEF or whatever it is. But all the same.
The problem is that there's a big demographic of the populace that believe that it's important to have other people to make decisions for them.
Oh yeah, I
that's-
agree. And that's not to say you can't come back, of course. You know, I mean, like the US presidents, they can stand again after their 2 terms are up. If they've got a term in between, can't they? Or they used to be able to.
Well, I mean, this is just something you need to thrash out, but it's a
I
question.
don't, well, actually, like you say, hopefully it brings it all down in 4 years anyway. I think it's all dissolving, isn't it? So the whole political structure is probably not something we need to worry about. We can leave that to divinity, I think. Okay, Rachel.
Hey, yeah, I was just kind of feeling like, does even that need to be centralized? Because surely if someone's up for doing their local area, they can raise the money in their local area out of their local community. Because if we're each building a local through all of these groups and assemblies and heart-centered people, even the fundraising for the £500 that you need surely could be done locally. It doesn't need to be done centrally by us, surely. And even us choosing someone, provided people's are you know, aligned to our values, and if they want to stand, because anyone can stand as an independent, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't thinking of having a selection procedure as such. It was,
Yeah.
it's amazing how many people are not willing, actually.
Yeah.
So finding 650 people should sound easy out of a population of God knows how many million, but it's surprisingly tricky.
So kind of creating the blueprint to inspire people to do it, and to do everything locally, and fundraise locally. It doesn't need to come, what I'm saying is surely it doesn't need to come through a central party or central body that raises the 325,000 even.
No, but I suppose it would be nice to have that target. But I do agree with you, Rachel, that doing it locally, apart from anything else, would sort of almost force you to engage, wouldn't it? It would provide opportunities for engaging with the local community as well. Just the very act of fundraising or asking.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because I mean, as we've found through, well, we had our own little groups of leafleters, you know, like family and, you know, friends and others within the party. But it does help to have a whole posse of you aligned, and one person agreeing to stand and sort of take the flak and be the figurehead of it. But what it really needs is a movement. It needs a group of people locally. And if people if you're building that, if we're building those groups now, or bringing together existing groups, then getting if there's 500 people, or even if there's 50 people, each person putting in a tenner, that's easy peasy, surely.
Yeah, let's see if it is easy peasy. It would be really nice to know. Maybe we could sort of have local groups and see how each other's doing and do it. I think it's nice to have us at the moment. We're the people who are awake and willing to do anything are probably a little thinly spread. So it is quite nice to have a central us group that we can turn to, and we can ask for help, and even help each other out with fundraising, maybe.
I agree with that too, yeah, definitely. But what I'm saying is, even the fundraising doesn't need to be a centralized thing.
No, and we should certainly encourage, I mean, certainly the other parties do. They have local branches doing their fundraising and things like that, certainly. And it would just, it would be great if we can use it as well to get people together at different events. It would be amazing to connect up. Prakesh.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Rachel, for making that point. I mean, I've got 3 points to make, and you made my first point for me, which is about local crowdfunding. And I do think that deposit of 500 quid, you know, should be, or could be raised locally. I mean, I was thinking that most of us are probably involved to some degree in our Stand in the Park groups, and there is a base of support there for starting to initiate something if one did want to stand as an independent. So I think the potential is already there. And I do think there is something about doing local crowdfunding, because it means getting active locally, which is what this whole thing really is about. It's not about having a top-down structure where somebody from some part of the country tells you what to do. That's surely not what we're seeking. So local crowdfunding is a definite yes. The second point I wanted to make is what is the purpose of standing in the first place? Because I think this is really important. I am very aware that in the past, people have stood at elections, and once you stand at election, one has to swear an oath to the Privy Council and to the King and all the rest of it. Now, Sinn Féin did not take up their seats, as you know, in the past, because they had objections to the way the system worked in the first place. And I think for me, very much the purpose of standing, if there was a purpose in standing, was to encourage a local conversation about the issues of the day and what we're facing and the challenges that we're facing and the fact that we need to find another way. Because I think that the established party and political structure will not allow anybody to come in that comes in outside the Westminster consensus. You know, Westminster operates on a consensus. We've seen what happens to political leaders that don't agree with that political consensus. They get dealt with. And I think that personally, I don't think the Parliament is the place for change. It's the place for change is likely to be locally. So that's my second point. The third point I wanted to make is I attended the recent Better Way conference in Bath and came away quite shifted in my thinking on stuff. And I think there was a very young man who was about 38 years old called Derek Brose. I don't know if any of you have come across him. And he spoke at the conference, and then he subsequently spoke on the Friday night at the Indian YMCA in Tottenham Court Road. And I think the thing that struck me was that he was talking about like all these like things that are coming down the road, like these CBDCs, these digital IDs, the 15-minute cities, the 5G, and it goes on and on and on. There's this massive list, and they're all coming. It's not as though they've gone like stop. They're all happening. And the question is how does one respond to that? And I think his response, which is the one that has touched me, and I'm still reflecting on it. I haven't formed a particular conclusion, although I'm starting to shift in a particular direction, is that I think that some of these things might almost be inevitable. And the question is, in that circumstance, what does one do if one objects to it and doesn't want to be part of it? And there was something that they've started to do in Mexico, which I think is happening certainly in some parts of the world, and I'm not sure if it's happening here, it might be happening, is people to form their own local analog communities, because the digital communities have their limitations. And I kind of, for me, my fantasy, if I could have a dream, my dream would be a community garden, which is, because I grow vegetables, but I certainly don't grow it on an industrial scale, and there's no way I can physically manage it. But coming together with other people who might invest in a community garden where we all lend our labor to the growing of vegetables in good soil, and create communities around that, and then start looking at other things that we might do around, you know, it could be gold, it could be silver, it could be Bitcoin, it could be a local network that is created for exchanging goods and services. And so in a way, it's almost like opting out of the system completely, but then working with others to create something new, because I don't think it's going to come out of Parliament. So there's just a few thoughts there.
Yeah, I think all these things that they're doing, in my view, will accelerate the fall of the whole of the 3D as it is at present, in my opinion, because people will start to see what every time they do something like this, people start to question, start to say, well, actually that doesn't suit me, and no one's listening, and they're just bringing it in anyway, and this is impacting my life, because I was personally out of everything until they directly impacted my life and told me I couldn't go out. I was absolutely outrageous. Don't be ridiculous, of course I'm going out. So at that, and that was the sort of point when I started to go, I've let myself be ruled by complete idiots. I thought they were safely tucked away in Parliament, you know, these people with egos and all the rest of it, safely tucked away, out of harm's way, just tinkering with around the edges of law. I just couldn't have been more wrong. I had no idea. So yeah, hopefully their CBDC or whatever it is, yeah, so CBDC will just help bring it all down. Actually, I think people are starting to wake up a bit more. It's going to hit their pockets, so they're definitely going to start noticing that. I saw that Amazon had recently completely pulled the plug on somebody for on everything on their accounts, and because they did everything through Amazon, had pulled the plug on everything, and that was just because somebody alleged racism on some delivery bloke alleged racism. So it's all these things that sort of heighten awareness of how powerful or how much control people are handing over, and starting to make people question.
I agree, and I think it's time to disinvest from them. I mean, if they're going to cut us off, just cut off from them before they cut off from
Absolutely.
us. I ended my Amazon Prime subscription, and it took me about a year of thinking about it. I thought, no, you've got to just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think disengaging from them or from their systems is probably absolutely key, which sort of brings me neatly onto something else, which was that just as I know Carrie's waiting to speak, but number 3 on my agenda was physical meetups. I know we're here and we're all on Zoom, but I was thinking in the future I would like to be with at least one of you. So and I think we should try and connect up. It just makes such a difference to bring things actually back into the physical. So I will travel. I will open my house up, and we didn't do it wasn't very organized this time. People didn't get the addresses in time or whatever, but we will make sure that that's something that we do in future, that I will be with at least somebody for these meetings. Maybe Rachel and Julie will do that too, and anyone else, perhaps just try and at least meet up with one other person to be here. I know we can't all travel vast distances. You know, Carrie's way down south. She can't get up here to meet every time I have a meeting, but maybe she can meet up with somebody else who's down there, and they can sit on the Zoom together and have a little cup of tea and something and start to connect up, because that's when you start to fire ideas off each other. It's so much easier.
Do you think we could have a meeting somewhere around a particular event or something, like, for example, if there was a particular initiative in a locality that somebody wanted to show, and then we could combine that with a meeting as well, so that we could have a shared experience of looking at something or discussing something, but also having a meeting as well? I know that sounds a bit weird, but
I know what you
something
mean.
that somebody may want to show. It might be that there's a local initiative around, dare I say it, growing vegetables and how
Loveland is the classic. Loveland is already up and running. I think that's definitely one I want to go to and and if anyone, I'm sure Carrie will welcome us all down there if we all go. But yeah, so but yeah, that's absolutely possible. I'm just aware of not bogging people's time down too much, because obviously we want you out there bringing these things in, birthing these community initiatives and getting people, because the important thing is connection first, connect up, and then the awakening will start to happen. So there's no point us banging on at people about how, you know, the WEF are trying to take over the world and all the rest of it, because they're like that. So it's connection first. You know, how are your kids? How's the dog? How's the, you know, that sort of thing. Do you want some seeds? Do you want a tomato plant? And then the awakening starts to happen. But that's the level. That's sort of the level a lot of communities are at, is actually just being able to talk to each other again and get all that working. And once we can get that going, I think it can actually accelerate in an exponential way. That's my hope anyway. So can I just go to Carrie now? Carrie, have you your hands up? You're muted again.
Okay, done it. Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you.
Good. I think everyone must be psychic today, because I was going to make lots of points and you've already kind of, but the main thing I was going to ask was, I believe there are other members in Cornwall, but I have no idea who they are or where they are, and I would very much like to contact them and meet up because I think that, as you mentioned, is important. And I don't know how I actually find out who they are.
No, what we're going to have to do is get people to consent to that, to consent to being connected up. So that is probably our biggest, our next challenge, is making sure that we get people connected locally, and you know,
Yes.
however that may be, and then they can exchange their phone numbers, they can exchange their addresses their own
Yes.
way. So once we can do that, I really think now that, I mean, once we've got the Electoral Commission decision from you lot, from the party, have a final decision on that, then the push is to get you all connected physically, to get the party starting to build from the grassroots, even if it's just inviting your neighbour for a cup of tea to start with, and then, you know, starting initiatives, and then of course raising this £300,000 that we want. I'm not saying that you shouldn't raise things locally, but a central pot would also be most helpful, because it would mean that we could do national campaigns, as well as just the local stuff. We could get the name out nationally. I mean, I've flown a plane over before with, when I was with Freedom Alliance, had a banner behind it, just things like that, which, you know, you could do the whole length of the country, you know, or bits of it at a time, and start getting the publicity out that way. And it would be really great to have a pot that we could put that into, and also you could then pay designers to get the pay for the leaflets to be designed, take that pressure off the candidates. Yes, connect up locally, but they don't need the admin dross stuff of designing leaflets and things. So yes, so hopefully we can get down to you soon, Carrie. How was that meeting you had? Was it, you had a festival?
That's this Sunday.
Oh, it's this Sunday, yes, because my daughter's got a play that I got to go to.
It's all right, no worries. I'm sure.
Well, normally I'm okay, actually.
Yeah.
My husband has got a wedding rehearsal to go to, and
well, I'm sure that I will, you know, Loveland will be visited. And if again, if we all kind of connect up, if anyone has any questions they want to ask about it,
well, I might try and get down there for the next meeting and see what we can do. That'd be really fun.
You're always welcome, anybody. And you know, we're at the process of, we just built, well, I say we, it wasn't me, it was a group of young girls, women, who were instructed in carpentry, and they've built a supersonic composting toilet which has got wheelchair access and a baby changing unit, so it's very posh.
Just brilliant.
And a lot of it was from the recycled wood that we got from the film set, which has been stored on someone's farm and is in use for the whole community. So, you know, there's an awful lot of stuff going on, which is I think
great, isn't it?
a lot of the way forward, and independence for everybody, that we have our own barter system, we have our own exchange of labour, we have, I mean, we've got repair cafes down here, and I'm sure you've got them where you are, and all sorts of food initiatives. So, you know, it's really taking off. I can see that, you know, that the more that is being revealed, the horror story, then the more people are waking up and actually doing something.
And it's swinging the other way. They're not, you know,
it is very encouraging.
It is. I'm so you know, I've got great plans for this village. But
good. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
I will be coming to get some ideas from you about it as well. So I did just want to not to indulge in fear porn, but on my email today, Not on the Beeb was saying how heavily censored they were, and there appears to be a new technology that filters out voices. So they tried to put Better Way up, so extracts from the Better Way conference on their website, on YouTube, on Rumble, on everything, and they have gone up, but the voices are filtered out on some of the videos, and this appears to be an advanced technology, which I think just increases the feeling for me that we need the physical and analog solutions, that we go back to letter writing, get back to meeting in the physical, maybe we even start getting onto radios again. Who knew all those radio boffins were actually onto something? But that might be the way forward. I think that would be quite good fun. So yeah,
Lynn, people are starting to leave, and I'm just wondering whether we should go to the vote.
Okay, so
1:00.
Are we happy to vote on this now, that we abandon the Electoral Commission and do our own thing? That's so. Are we okay voting on that now, everybody? Are you happy? Right? Can you just for now? Can you take your hands down, and we'll put hands up to vote for this proposal. So the motion is that we abandon attempts to become registered with the Electoral Commission, and we do our own thing as an unregistered, unpolitical party or movement. So who agrees with that? Can we have hands up? So about half, not half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, 7 agree. I agree, and Julie agrees.
Yeah,
I agree, and Julie agrees. David, I would like to hear from you actually, David, because you've been absolutely one of the beacons who's been contributing a lot. So I do want to hear with that. So I think, given the split, can we take this to the party then? Oh, Brian's had to. Can we take this to the party on Telegram and perhaps email and make sure that we get a decent percentage of the party voting on it, because it's not unanimous by a long chalk, is it? So
hold on, what, Simon? I thought that you proposed this, so why are you not voting for it?
Oh, I think he was. I think he just took his hands down because he'd already voted. So there
if I may, Lynn, I'd be really interested to those who haven't voted in favour. I'm curious what the counter argument.
Yeah, because that is actually really important, because we haven't had the other side of the debate, have we?
No.
So let's have that. Let's have that sort of debate. Now it is 1:00. Can we hear from 1 or 2 of those people now, or do people have to go? Can I just have can we have 10 minutes to hear the other side?
David, Carol.
Hey, David. And David, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Is that better?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I'm a bit reluctant to say anything because everyone seems to be in a certain amount of agreement. But as far as it goes, personally, I would say that the Love Party should try to get registration at the next election. And if the problem is that the constitution has to be rewritten in some way or another, then at each major election, that I would have thought that we would reapply, tweak it, reapply, and then in the long term we would get in. Because to me, the argument that it's a corrupt system and we don't want anything to do with it, well, the banking system's a corrupt system, but we all have bank accounts. Well, I can't see that we're ever going to change anything by not engaging in the system to some extent. The alternative, it's like going and gluing yourself to a motorway. It's all kind of pointless. So yeah, so that's why I'm voting that way.
Okay. So from my point of view, we're absolutely not disengaging from we're still standing. We're just, is it worth us pursuing the Electoral Commission? So the points raised by them to stop us joining were pretty petty, actually, and we had tried very hard working with them and almost asked for an exact wording from them that would get us through, which we had used and then was rejected by them. So there seems to be a very determined effort that we don't get registered. It costs £150 now if we want to register again, because we've had our second formal refusal. Not just, I mean, we've had about a dozen, at least half a dozen tinkerings when it's gone backwards and forwards, and we've also had numerous conversations about it. So obviously, just being difficult to get through isn't a reason to do it. It's whether it increases our credibility being unpolitical and unregistered, or whether we get more credibility by being registered. We can still stand for elections, we can still pattern interrupt, we can still use love on all our literature, on all our leaflets. The only thing missing, as far as I can see, is the logo on the ballot paper, which basically means that you have to educate the public before they go into the ballot. So that's my view. So you obviously disagree with that, David. So what's the problem with what is it that you think we gain by registering?
I think if you're talking to other people about it, and you say that I'm a member of the Love Party and we're standing for, but we can't get registration because we can't jump through the hoops, and so we're changing our name to. It's all goes. That people are just going to lose interest in listening to what you're saying. Personally, that's my opinion.
Okay, that's valid, and I think that might be the case in some ways. In some cases, especially if they are wanting if they're sort of Lib Dem defectors or something, I can see that they might want a solid registered party. You know, you can have unregistered political parties. This is not something that's novel or new. That is absolutely a legitimate way to do it. You can be an unregistered political party, but you have to stand as an independent.
All right.
So because the advantage of being a registered political party is that you get to use the logo and nobody else does.
All right.
So that's the other thing about being registered, is that sometimes has credibility with voters. I don't know why, because it doesn't with me, is that you have they perceive that you have a proper constitution and your finances are regulated. That has limited truth. They do pick at your constitution, but it means that we have to have a constitution we don't really agree with. The regulation of finances, well, as we've seen with Freedom Alliance, it means absolutely nothing. You are subject to normal business regulations if you have a business account and if you're a registered company, but the Electoral Commission just says, oh, we can't get involved, we can't do anything, and they can't. They can only check it out beforehand to see if your constitution aligns with your company memorandum of articles, which ours did. We worked very hard to try and get it to do that, but that was one of the things that said not.
Yeah,
that they said.
I would have to agree that the way forward would have to be not worrying about the registration, because of the fact that if they did turn us down again, then we're back to square one. So but as it goes for the future, I would think that maybe even if you said like not next year, but in 4 years' time, we're going to in a certain amount of time, we're going to reapply it and see what happens.
Okay, so that's not a bad idea.
As an option.
Yeah. So
I think we have to think of it as a long-term thing. So not being dependent on registration is absolutely essential at the moment, because otherwise they're stopping us
yes
getting anywhere. So I think I'd rather abstain than vote against it.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying we reapply, or we put a timeline in place that, along with our vision, if you like, a timeline in place for trying to get registration. Put it sort of on the back burner.
Yeah.
So have it as a background thing going on rather than as a focus.
Yeah, we mean to do this, but we're not going to worry about it. We're going to do our own stuff anyway. That's
okay. Right. Does that? Can I just ask? Those people who do not like the idea of us being not registered, the ones who want to be registered. How does that sound? Is that something that you think is a good idea? Anybody?
I mean, I'll be frank. I think this whole debate has moved me away from the party political aspects of it, and I kind of think that the activity and is more important at the end of the day, and that there is something that is quite credible around people standing as independents in their own area, but having the backup and support of an organisation that can assist with that process. That's the model that warms to me, because I think the time spent trying to get accredited with a bureaucracy that you've got complete contempt for, that isn't going to actually get you anything, is pointless. It's pointless energy. Put it into something that will generate some more tangible outcome, is probably what I say.
Yeah, it's funny though, because on the other side of this is we have a registered political party now in my area called Rushcliffe Independence. So they are using that, they've registered as a political party, apparently with very little issue, and they are playing on them being independent. That's their sort of, and it's like, but you belong to a party. So yeah, it's quite an interesting. Yeah. But these, I mean, I spoke to them, and while they're jolly decent chaps and everything.
Can anybody hear me?
Hang on, Brian. Can I just finish, Brian? I'll just let me finish with independence. But they. Okay, but yeah, the Rushcliffe Independents, they are jolly nice chaps, but they were all ex-Tory, ex-Lib Dem, ex this, that, and the other. So it was a different sort of system. Anyway, sorry, Brian, I know you had your hand up for ages. Can I just quickly have a word, hear what you have to say? Gonna have to be quick though, because we're going to have to go in a minute.
Yes. Yes, nice to see so many men here today. It's mostly all the women, isn't it? But yes, yes, you're right that there are laws in place, isn't it? It's been kept from us because of a catch-22. And that's why we have to stand up against this machine. Yes, whether you want to join it or not, the machine is there and we have to deal with it, isn't it? Yes, this independence is amazing. I'm empowered. I am sovereign. I am independent, and I can stand as an independent. But I am just learning about these laws, the common law. We have it anyway. It is because of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, isn't it? And that's what you want back. So yes, we get back out of this. Yes, there are tools, communications, but a lot of them people, and most of them people, are not involved with this on the internet, Zoom, and joining all this stuff. So yes, it is right that we should get back on the ground and get back into our parishes and our councils and look at it all independent, because we have to take control of our own selves, isn't it? Like it always has been. So it's just a case of getting back to it, isn't it? Really? Yes, we've always had to deal with the other states. There was an old black and white film where a state in or London Pimlico claimed their independence. They were very amazing stuff. Yes, you still have to deal with the mainstream, but yes, I'm just learning also about associations and trust, isn't it? And zero interest organisations. They have corrupted these charities with these zero interest. Amazon, it doesn't make a profit, does it? So yes, the Love Party is a non-profit organisation. It is a movement, isn't it? It is more than just a political party. You want it to be something more, don't you? Something that any God-fearing person.
We do, and I think we need to start celebrating what everyone's doing. I mean, we've got, carrying love. Yeah, let's do it. Anyway, can I just go to Maria? Maria's been waiting. Thank you. Maria? Hi, Maria.
Hi. Sorry, I think that was probably because I forgot to put my hand down, but that was the divine's cue to make me speak. So in all of this, I was a member from day 2, I think, because I was drawn to the ethos of what the three of you were putting together. My answer to this is that it has to be grassroots. It has to be us on the ground. And I've recently applied for a job I've been self-employed for 8 years, and I've applied for a job as a community development worker. I am going to absorb myself in my local community, learn how all the corrupt funding structure works from the inside out. I'm going to get to know the movers and the shakers in my local area committee and understand the motivations of the elected people on our council in Sheffield, and I'm going to work my way in from the ground up. That is what I'm doing, and I'm also going to be coming at it from a health perspective as well. And I'm going to be founding the Sheffield hub of the People's Health Alliance. That's going to be me. There you go. That's it.
Maria.
It's about action. It's action. It's individual action and responsibility. That's
totally.
it. It's
Thank
simple.
you. And if we can make sure that when we do these things, perhaps we just put them out there and it gives other people ideas about what they can do, and they think, I can do that. Why haven't I? You know, of course I can. Because you feel like, you know, you sit there, so many people sat in front of the telly go, oh, I don't know what, I can't do anything, I'm helpless, there's only me, I'm just the one person. Absolute rubbish. We're all there, we can do it, we can, you know, as I think it was I can't remember who she was now, but basically, you know, never believe that a small number of individuals can't change the world. It's the only thing that ever has. Now, who said that? It's
we all did.
It's
collective consciousness said that through one person.
It wasn't Rosa Parks, it was someone else in America who did a Margaret, was it Margaret? Oh, what's her name? Oh, for goodness sake, that's so annoying. Anyway.
Roy, isn't it Roy, the surname?
No, she was Margaret Mead. Thank you. Thank you. Got there. Having taught psychology, I never thought that name would leave me. So yeah, and quickly Rachel, and then quickly Simon, and then I think we'll have to wrap up.
Yeah, I just wanted to drive home the really key point why this strategy, which actually was suggested by Simon, why it's so genius. And that is because 60% of people are lost to the electorate, are lost to political parties. That is who we're going for. And I have to say, it's not helpful. This is a limiting belief statement. It will be difficult to win seats in Parliament without being a registered party. Personally, I believe if we can reignite the 60% of lost voters, 60, 70% in some places more, and reignite them with a compelling message of a movement which is going to completely review the system, and re-engage that lost electorate, that is a very, very strong marketing play standpoint, because we're not trying to pinch people off other political parties. We're just going after the 60 to 70% who are not even bothered to vote. And that's why this is so powerful and strong. And I think it's a massive advantage not to be a political party for that reason. That's my point. Okay, thanks, Rachel. Simon?
Yeah, I could just say ditto, actually. Both sums it up. I want to comment actually from Carol's comment. I actually think it's an idea that's time has come. I think it's got enormous potential to engage people, and I think people will vote for it. And I think, you know, we need to be very focused on what we're about, and we are about winning elections, are we not? You know, lots of people involved in all the grassroots bottom-up stuff, and we probably all are, and I certainly am. And, you know, the whole Buckminster Fuller quote, you don't fight the existing system, you build a new one that makes it obsolete. We can carry on doing that and engage with lots of other people doing the similar thing. But this is, in my mind anyway, it's about winning elections. And the way to do that is to differentiate yourself in any way you can, not being a mainstream political party. We are endorsing independence because we want to shake up the system dramatically.
Yes, and I would just say that the grassroots stuff that we're doing, all brilliant, and perhaps that is our election strategy, that we get in there and promote grassroots, that we get in there and be I'm not saying it sounds a bit like virtue signaling, that's not what I mean at all, but be genuinely involved with the communities, and people actually see results, because you don't see that from a lot of parties. You see broken promises, you see results right from the start. You know, these people are actually doing something, and they're involved in, these are people I trust because they're involved in the seed exchange, or they're involved in the choir, or they're involved in this. You know, you're building it up from the grassroots. But anyway, like I say, I think this is something we need to take to the membership on an email. Let them watch this video, let them see how the vote went, that there was a split. They're not alone. If you still think there's a political party needed, registration needed, you're not alone, but we need to hear that side of it because we didn't really hear that today. Okay, so thank you very much everybody for coming. If we can stop recording now and just take a couple of minutes if there's anything anyone wants to say after.